Welcome to Revenge with Lyra.
We're taking your CAR and giving it to your sister as a New Year gift, my mom said, sipping tea like it was a casual weather update. I blinked. You're what? Dad folded his arms. She needs it more. You barely go anywhere. That was a lie. I worked 2 jobs, took night classes, and still managed every family errand they threw at me. That car? I bought it with my internship money and part-time cashier work during senior year. But to them, it was just another thing to give my perfect little sister, Callie. Callie, who wrecked her last 2 cars. Callie, who failed out of college and cried her way into second chances. Callie, who smiled smugly as my parents declared my car her fresh start. It's already decided, Mom added. You can use the bus until you sort something else out. I stared at them, numb. Not angry yet. Just cold. So cold that something inside me locked into place. This wasn't about a car. It was about how easily they erased me. I nodded slowly. All right, I said quietly. Let's make sure this new year is unforgettable. They smiled, thinking I meant forgiveness. They didn't know I meant a surprise they'd never recover from. For the next few days, I said nothing. I smiled when they handed Callie the keys like it was a coronation. I clapped during the countdown when the clock hit midnight, and everyone shouted, Happy New Year! And when my mom kissed my cheek and whispered, Proud of you for being so mature, I smiled again. But under that smile, I was busy laying groundwork. See, that car wasn't just mine emotionally. It was mine legally. Titled, insured, and registered under my name. They never even asked. They assumed I'd roll over like I always had. And I almost did, until I saw the gleam in Callie's eyes as she drove off blasting music, waving like I was the servant girl left behind. That night, I went into my room, locked the door, and pulled out the manila folder I kept stashed beneath my desk drawer. It had all the original paperwork, every payment receipt, and a clean title with my name in bold ink. The next day, I paid a quiet visit to the DMV and asked one simple question. What happens when someone illegally takes a vehicle registered in your name? The woman behind the counter raised an eyebrow. Sweetheart, she said, they don't drive it for long. On January 2nd, I filed the official report. I didn't go in raging. I didn't accuse my parents of being villains. I simply stated that my car had been taken without my permission by a relative, that it was not a loan or a gift, and that I had proof of ownership, which I handed over, neatly organized. The officer at the desk looked through it, nodded, and typed something into the system. Okay, Harper, he said. It's logged. If she gets pulled over, or if any parking violation is flagged, it'll hit as unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. That was all I needed. A small fuse, quietly lit. Meanwhile, at home, the family was celebrating Callie's new chapter. She posted photos with captions like, starting the year right with my new baby black heart, #blessed. Never mind that she hadn't earned a single cent of it. And me? I was back on the bus. 6 a.m. rides in freezing wind. Walking home in the dark. Every step hardened something inside me. Mom would occasionally ask if I was okay, and I'd say yes. Because I was okay. I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. And they had no idea the new year they forced on me was also the one I'd chosen to end them in silence. On January 8th, I got a call from Callie. Hey, weird question, she said, fake casual. Did you, say something to someone? The cops flagged the car when I got pulled over for speeding. I paused. Let it simmer. Then I said, well, it's still in my name. Maybe they thought it was stolen. Okay, but Mom said it's mine now. She told you we were doing this for the family. For the family, I repeated slowly. Callie, I worked 2 jobs to pay off that car. She went silent, then snapped. You're seriously going to make this a big deal? You always do this, act like the victim. I didn't answer. I just hung up. That evening, my parents cornered me in the kitchen. Dad slammed his palm on the counter. What is this nonsense about you reporting your own sister to the cops? I stared at him. Calm. Clear. It's not nonsense. It's theft. Mom laughed bitterly. You'd put your own blood through legal trouble over a car? No, I said. I'd hold my family accountable for treating me like furniture. The silence that followed was louder than any scream. For the first time, they looked at me not like their daughter, but like a problem they couldn't predict anymore. They tried to guilt-trip me the next morning. Mom made pancakes like it was some peace offering. Dad read his paper, humming. And Callie? She avoided eye contact entirely. So, Mom began, setting a plate in front of me. We talked last night. And maybe things got out of hand. I didn't touch the food. I'm listening. We just think, she continued, that if we all calm down, maybe we can reverse the report. Make it go away quietly. I almost laughed. Quiet was their favorite weapon. Silence, shame, secrets. Dad chimed in. And Callie's been really stressed lately. That car gave her a fresh start. You don't want to ruin that, do you? I looked up. You're asking me to undo my boundaries because your golden child got nervous. Harper. Mom snapped. But I wasn't done. I paid for that car. I earned it. And instead of celebrating that, you handed it to someone who thinks Instagram captions are work. Callie stood abruptly. You're just jealous. You always have been. No, I said. I just finally see the truth. This family doesn't value me, only what they can take. That night, I moved into a friend's spare room. Quietly. No announcement. They thought I was bluffing. They were about to find out I wasn't. The next 2 weeks were blissfully silent. No texts. No calls. Just peace. Until I got a letter. Not from my family, from the insurance company. Apparently, someone had tried to file a transfer of ownership on the car without my signature. I called immediately. Ma'am, the rep said, your name is still the legal owner. Any attempt to forge your release is a crime. I hung up, my stomach twisting. This wasn't just petty anymore. It was criminal. I compiled everything. My original purchase receipts. The registration. Screenshots of Callie's posts posing in my car. Even the voicemail where Dad said, just let her have it. She deserves something nice. It wasn't just documentation. It was proof that love in my family came with conditions and consequences. Then I did the one thing they never saw coming. I walked into a lawyer's office. Not for drama. For clarity. We filed a cease and desist, sent directly to my parents and Callie, warning them that if the vehicle wasn't returned within 10 days, I'd press charges. The next day, my phone blew up. First Mom, then Callie, then Dad, all suddenly remembering how much they loved me. But it was too late. The court clock had already started ticking. They showed up at my friend's doorstep like nothing had happened. My dad with his fake laugh. Mom clutching some grocery bag like it was a peace treaty. Callie stood in the back, arms folded like she was the victim. We just want to talk, Mom said sweetly. I didn't invite them in. You tried to forge a document, I said flatly. That's not a misunderstanding. That's a felony. Dad raised his hands. It was a mistake. We didn't mean. No. I cut him off. You meant exactly what you did. You just didn't think I'd push back. Callie finally snapped. It was just a car. You're really going to tear this family apart over a vehicle? That made me laugh. A bitter, tired laugh. I worked 3 jobs while you posted rise and grind selfies from a sunroof I paid for. You want to talk about tearing the family apart? Maybe start with that. Silence. No one had ever spoken like that to them before. Especially not me. Then, I handed them the envelope. The final legal notice. 10 days. Or court. They left without another word. But that night, I saw Callie's tearful apology video go live on Instagram, a desperate attempt to spin the narrative. She should have known. This time, I had receipts. December 31st. The day my car was supposed to be gifted to my sister. Instead, a sheriff's deputy knocked on their door, not mine. The vehicle was officially repossessed under emergency order due to fraudulent activity. Callie cried on the driveway. My parents begged the officer to reconsider. But I wasn't even there. I was sipping coffee on my porch with my lawyer's assistant, who had become something like a friend through all this. I used to think family drama was for TV, she said, shaking her head as she scrolled through Callie's meltdown livestream. I smiled. Welcome to season 1. That same day, the lawyer filed a small claims case against my father for damages related to emotional distress and attempted fraud. Not for money, for principle. The moment that sealed everything? A message from my dad. It read, "We never expected you to turn against us." I replied, "I didn't turn against you. I just stopped turning away." They say blood is thicker than water, but respect is thicker than both. My car is mine again. My peace, even more so. I didn't burn bridges. I let them collapse under the weight of their own choices. And when the ashes cleared, all that remained was a girl who finally chose herself.